So, Mark, the other day I came home and this strange man was at our front door. He kept pestering. He wanted us to join a particular network. Is that right?
Yeah, hi. I'm sorry. I was just, you know that thing where like I don't want to walk in, but I've watched a lot of Seinfeld and I feel like kind of Kramerish. I should just be able to burst into anybody's house at a given point in time. But yeah, I was really thrilled to have you, the hell with this, join the Dragon Wagon Radio Podcast Network.
And of course, this is Jake Lloyd.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm supposed to introduce myself. Hi, guys. I'm a professional. Yeah, I'm Jake Lloyd, and I am a co-founder of the Dragon Wagon Radio Podcast Network. And I am here to tell you a little bit about said network, where you can find a ton of fantastic shows, all by independent creators and people who may not have the outlet prior to Dragon Wagon to put out a show the way that they want to put it out. And that is what it's about. They can check out all the podcasts on DragonWagonRadio.com.
I have only one question for you.
Yeah.
Weren't you in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace?
God damn it.
How you doing, Mark?
I'm okay. You know, I went to the gym this morning and I retweaked my fucking back.
You are a jackass. Why did you go on a Saturday morning?
Because I had to go to the gym.
Yeah.
I follow a schedule,
You just had
man.
to go on do you go every Saturday?
No, I go 3 days on, 1 day off. So it kind of changes throughout the week.
If the fate of the world were like in my hands and I had to work out in the morning to save the world would be done and dead. That would not last very long.
Some people prefer to do it in the evenings. I prefer to get it out of the way and move on with my day.
You know you've got a strange man sitting next to you.
He's not that strange. He's just kind of tall.
Would you like to introduce him?
This gentleman that I've brought with me today is Matt Hingstman.
Hello.
Hey.
How's it going?
We rarely have guests on the show, so this is a major
I feel very honored.
occasion.
And I think every single time it's usually just you and the guest and not me. Because I'm too
Yeah,
busy.
well, you've brought some people on where I was there for Byron.
Yeah.
But we usually don't have 3 people. But you've been around when Steve has been on before. But this is a super special
Wait,
occasion.
this is the first time I've ever had somebody who's been on another podcast within our same podcast network.
True, yeah.
Yeah.
We mentioned this at the end of our last episode, and we didn't remember the name of the podcast. So could you tell us what other show you're on, Matt?
I can also be found on the Dragon Wagon podcast, Dungeons and Dragon Wagon.
Fucking nerd.
Where we play Dungeons and Dragons, essentially.
That makes a lot of sense.
Little homebrew campaign.
And I'm amazed that we couldn't think of the name because it's Dungeons and Dragon Wagon. It's a perfect combination of the network and the game.
Yeah. So you guys should go listen to that.
Yes, you should.
That can't be like. There's got to be some copyright issues with that.
We were thinking about that, and then I think we just went with it anyway.
You can just like fuck it.
What is it? Wizards of the Coast that owns? No, they own Magic.
Yeah, but like
they're not gonna fuck with the fan base, are they?
like I forget. It's not. It's Hasbro. I think owns Wizards of the Coast, so it's not Wizards of the Coast that you have to worry about. It's parent company.
Who owns Hasbro? Like
probably
Pfizer or something?
Coke or Pfizer. Coke or brought to you by Pfizer. God damn. What? I always thought it would just be boring as hell to listen to people roleplay.
Yeah.
Chad, I always thought it would be boring as hell to listen to people talk about movies, but here we
I
are.
think we just got your podcast canceled.
That was something we talked about a lot in developing it, and like, okay, how do we make ours actually interesting? Because we listened to a couple other ones, like, all right, what are they doing wrong? How can we make ours interesting? Because I would ask myself all the time, like, would I listen to our podcast? And yeah, I think I would. Ours is cool.
How long do the episodes run?
Anywhere from like 60 minutes to 94
4 hours
and more. I think we're trying to average around a little over an hour, which is not too bad.
And it's an ongoing campaign, right?
Yes, but it does have we are going to have an endpoint in sight, which I think is good. That was one of the things we talked about when you. Oh, I'll listen to this podcast, and you see there are 400 episodes. Like, forget that.
Gotta follow it from the beginning in that case.
Kind of like
So we're gonna have a set
like
number
our
of episodes.
podcast
That
now.
way, it seems like listenable. Like, oh, I can knock these out.
Like, do you think you're gonna break it up into seasons, sort of? Like 10 episodes is gonna be one game, then you
One
move on to
story
a
arc.
different one.
That'll be a conversation that we're gonna have. Yeah, we'll see.
Cool.
Maybe we'll see what the fans want.
crickets.
Eyebrows at the microphone. Give us a little bit of background on who you are in real life. Because this is a podcast, like we try to use our professional experience to talk about the movies.
Well, like you guys, I went to film school.
Total waste.
Okay, we don't need to go back that far.
I was born in 19. I went to film school, graduated film school. I enjoyed film school. Always loved movies. I worked in the industry a little bit in Philly and then moved out here to...
Where'd you go to film school?
I went to Drexel University in Philadelphia. Moved out to LA to work in the industry and make movies and such. And
I feel like I conned you to move out to LA. Because I was the one who like said, Matt, you got to come out here. And I think you had just went through a breakup or something.
Yeah,
You're like,
kinda.
fuck this place, I'm out of here.
yeah, I think I texted you at like 1 a.m.
Welcome
I
to
seem
a
to
new
remember.
land of opportunity and
Yeah.
adventure.
Were you drunk when you texted me? I'm coming out.
I think I was actually. Well, I made the right decision. Here I am. Yeah, love movies. I probably go to the movie theater like once or twice a week on average.
That's what I have noticed about you. You're always posting, watching whatever at the
Yeah,
ArcLight.
yeah.
Speaking of which, sidebar for a second.
Yeah.
You said you went and saw Hotel Artemis, which I also saw and
Yeah.
loved. Did you like it?
I enjoyed it. I was surprised to see internet reaction was not a fan.
Really?
Yeah, or at least on Reddit, most of the comments were like, "This had such good potential and it sucked." I was like, "Really? I liked it."
Yeah, I thought it was well done. It was just kind of very concise. I did feel like maybe it was too short, but
Yeah,
it was
fun
what it was.
dialogue, cool characters. Yeah, what's the hate on?
It I tweeted that it was a lot like a John Carpenter movie, like where it felt like it just sort of has its story, does its story,
Yeah.
and that's
Well, that's kind of refreshing in this day and age of everything setting up the next movie.
right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, even this kind of did, but it was contained enough where it wasn't like winking too hard at you.
Yeah.
If the internet hated the movie, does that mean it had like an SJW agenda that everybody's reacting?
Obviously, it did.
Yeah, well,
Obviously.
Jodie Foster in his little... Ooh.
All right, so back to you.
Oh yeah,
So you came out here
yeah,
making movies.
yeah.
And what kind of work have you been doing?
Mostly been doing lighting work
Okay.
in television and films and such like that. But,
Something I particularly suck at.
yeah.
Like anything I lit myself in film school ended up looking like a fucking porno.
Was that why everything turned out to be black and white? Like you just
Yeah.
desaturated
It's
everything?
like the color is just complicating
No
things.
wonder you like noir movies.
Well, lighting's not really one of those things anyone's instinctually good at. It really just takes.
Wait, you have to learn how it works? I've done this completely wrong.
Well, a lot of things, some people just kind of get it. Like a lot of people are just naturally good directors and stuff like that. Lighting is kind of thing like you just gotta do it a million times before you are kind of like, all right, I think I know what I'm
you
doing
start
here.
to see
Yeah.
how, yeah,
Yeah.
right. Okay, great.
Is that what you set out to do, or make films?
Make films, right, and direct films. So I've been slacking a little bit on that, but I'm trying. I'm working on a short film, hopefully filming
but
this summer.
I've seen one of your short films. You played it at a party last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
That was good.
Oh, thank you.
I think you should keep it up.
Thank you.
You're sticking with it, unlike some of us.
Oh, I'm sticking with it. Yeah.
I'm looking at Mark specifically.
Some of us. Just me.
Giving up.
Yeah, I'm trying real hard not to give up. Try not to be too comfortable in my lighting life.
Yeah. I feel like you got to just kind of do. If you have an urge to do it, you just need to do it to stay sane. Whether or
Yeah.
not you have any purpose or reason other than to just, feel like you're doing something for yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Just don't go broke doing it.
Right.
Oops.
When people
Whoops.
when people start out by going like, I'm gonna make this short film and it's gonna lead to a huge career, I'm gonna be rich and famous and adored by millions, that's when nothing works
That's
out
like
that
every
way.
17-year-old douchebag, like
that's
signing
why-
up
weren't
to,
we all
That's
that-
why a lot of
signing up to
people
NYU. I think everybody was at one point.
That's why a lot of people first get into filmmaking or they go to film school because, you know, they want to make that investment or whatever. But at some point, you do just have to do it for its own sake.
Did you guys ever have any other students in your class that you would say didn't think that they could make the best movie of all time, like the very first time they made a movie? Because I feel like every single person, like, anytime I talk to some new kid, like, just getting into film school, they're like, oh, you know, I'm trying to get all this money together. I'm going to put, like, $30,000 into the short film. And I'm just like, that's the worst
Don't.
possible thing to do. Because it's going to suck. And you're going to have wasted your money. And then you're going to be a line cook for the rest of your life or something.
But in a sense, $30,000 is what, one semester tuition at USC?
Yeah.
And they'll probably learn a lot doing that and wasting that money.
I still only think the only thing you're getting out of those schools is the connections and not having not having to waste those years making the connections moving to LA. I feel like that makes sense.
I went into this a little bit on another Dragon Wagon podcast called Elaborate. I talked about the values of film school. So you guys can check out my episode on that.
God damn it.
And get my opinion on it.
You know, for a show called Elaborate, it was pretty simple.
Yeah.
Wow.
Boom.
So you're out here now.
I'm out here,
You
yep.
made movies.
Yep.
You're actually on. You were working a few days on the show that I'm on right now.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah, that
we
was
randomly
fun.
found out because you forgot the name of the show that I was on. You're like,
Yeah, I was
"Are
telling
you
you all
on this
excited, like,
show?"
I was like, oh, I'm on this show. I think it's called blah blah. And you're like, yeah, that's the show I've been telling you about for the last 4 months.
And then we had one day on the shoot where it was like 4 people from like our old hood, more or
Yeah.
less.
Our old internet
You,
hood.
myself, Eric Bronco, and Brandon Flight.
Wow.
We're all sitting in the lunch tent going, this is cool.
Yeah, all former Force.net people.
How did this happen?
Yeah.
We all made it.
Yeah, sorta. So anyway, I hear you might have brought us a movie this week.
I did. You guys like to choose a lot of semi-obscure movies. Maybe not movies no one's heard
Like
of, but
Apollo
not...
13.
Well, the name of the podcast is The Hell With This, an underrated movie podcast.
Okay. Well, I would say it's a lot of movies maybe people have heard of but haven't seen. Like you guys watch, like, oh yeah, I should probably watch that one day.
They can
This
be
is-
forgotten movies too. I mean,
Okay. Well, I think a lot of people I forgot about this one.
If my phone would shut the fuck up over there.
Jesus,
Should I
Mark.
start over?
You are so
Yeah, I guess so.
unprofessional. No, you don't have to start over. Just keep going.
This is a movie that was on HBO like every single day as a kid. I haven't seen it since I was probably about 8 years old. It's the late 80s classic called Batteries Not Included.
Asterisk, batteries not included.
I like how
All
I was
lowercase.
like leading up to revealing the title, but people are going to know the title when they click on this episode to listen
Yeah,
to
I mean, sometimes we
I
kind
know.
of go, ooh, it's a
We're
big
like,
surprise, but
It's a
it's
surprise,
already...
even though we've known since yesterday.
Yeah.
it. So have either of you guys seen this?
Similarly, I saw it when I was a kid, and I kind of went like, this is a really weird movie, and I haven't really remembered any of it. I know it's got old people
Yep.
and robots.
I always got this movie confused with Cocoon. 'Cause I feel like it was kind of the same era.
Yeah.
Same.
Was then also
Aren't-
Jessica Tandy and what's his name?
Hume Cronyn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that explains it then. That's the only reason why I don't know if I have seen it. I'm pretty sure I have.
Okay.
But I'm 100% positive I won't have remembered any of it.
Okay.
Just because it's such a blur in my memory, that era. And I didn't record movies at the time, like in my head. Like I just kind of watched them and experienced them and then forgot about them promptly.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Right. So...
So I'm very curious if it holds up or if it's terrible.
So when,
But you were like a big fan when you were a kid?
I mean, I watched it every time it was on. It's
Yeah.
kind of it's that typical like 80s movie where it's like befriending a creature or robot of some kind and you learn life lessons.
Right.
They teach you life lessons.
And in this case, it's a bunch of elderly people.
It's a whole apartment full of people.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just like old people.
No. There's
So
a whole.
it's not a movie
It's an
about a vibrator.
ensemble cast.
It's not about a vibrator, Chad.
Okay, just make it sure.
I thought you were. I don't know, because I first asked you to come on the podcast sometime last year.
Yeah.
And you were like, I know exactly what I want to do. Batteries not included.
Was this the same?
And since you told me that, anytime I've seen some batteries not included thing out in the world, like at the Lego fair or at an art gallery where people would like make their own version of the little robots, I would like text you pictures thinking you were some kind of like Uber fan. And you're like, man, I'm not going to spend $400 on a batteries not included statue.
Yeah,
But, thanks for thinking of me.
What? Okay, so what about the movie made you want to bring it back? Like besides just
I don't know. Maybe just
vague
because I
memories
haven't.
of-
It's somewhat obscure. Maybe just something.
You wanna
Maybe
give
just
it
something. Maybe it's something forgotten.
bring it
Maybe
back
that was
and give it its day in the sun again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna re-explore this one together. I hope it doesn't suck, Matt.
I'm curious. No guarantees.
Well, it was executive produced by Spielberg, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
I think
So,
he
if not, it totally
executive
seems
produced
like
everything.
Right.
it might be an Amblin movie also.
Ooh, Will.
Some kid gonna ride a bike through the moon.
I don't know if there's bikes in this movie.
No bikes, man. Just robots.
I'm sure it's got an endearing score by Howard Shore. Maybe
Oh really?
I'm gonna take a swing and say Howard Shore.
Okay. Who you got any money on anybody, Mark?
For the score?
Yeah. What's the guy's name? Alec.
Fucking...
Who's the guy who does Back to the Future?
Alan Silvestri.
Alan Silvestri. That's my guess.
Oh, that's a good guess.
I'm not good with composers. I can't remember anybody's name now.
Just say John
Oh, maybe it's
Williams.
James Horner.
John Williams.
Okay.
Who did Star Trek? Who did Star Trek The Next Generation?
Next Generation.
Next Generation.
That was
Yeah, the theme.
Goldsmith.
Jerry Goldsmith.
Well, he did the theme.
All right.
That became the theme.
We'll come out on the other side. This will be like when last week I said Catherine Keener was in the movie, but it was like it was definitely not Catherine Keener.
Yeah. All right, let's play this
Here we
thing.
go.
The residents of 817 East 8th Street are about to lose everything they have.
What do you mean those tenants are still in there?
Tonight. I'll have them out by tonight.
Nothing in this world can save them. Nothing but a miracle. Steven Spielberg presents a Matthew Robbins film.
Welcome to America. Spaceships from a very small planet. Very small. This is history. Machines that reproduce themselves.
I like being a family again.
What the hell is that?
It's them, the little guys.
I don't know how you got here or why you picked us.
Somebody's helping them. Somebody's bringing them together.
Is that why you're here?
Batteries Not Included, starring Hume Cronyn and Jessica Tandy.
Battery's not included, but turns out power is. We don't have to start with that. That's pretty dumb.
I'm not sure what that means, Chad.
That's a lot of notes.
That's
it
from
other movies?
Other movies. I just have these 3 lines here. Okay, we're back.
All right.
Batteries were not included. The title was true. I guess we should mention all the names we were surprised to see in the credits.
Sure.
Here, executive produced by Spielberg, obviously.
Yeah, we knew that.
But it was co-written by Brad Bird,
Yeah.
who directed The Incredibles, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And was a person on The Simpsons for a long time.
Oh, okay.
It explains a lot more to me because I never really understood the love for Brad Bird. I know he did Incredibles, which you love.
Yeah.
That's one of the coolest movies ever
But
made.
I never understood the urge for him for people to want him to be a director because animation directing is so different from being on set and working with human beings.
Sure. I think it's probably just because I guess people know that he is really good with story and stuff like that. And so, it'll just hopefully just translate and,
Yeah.
Well, speaking of story, the story was by McGarris, who I know mostly for being the director of all the kind of cheesy and stupid Stephen King miniseries adaptations.
Oh, really? Like The Stand and...
Did you do The Shining with, what's his name?
Yeah, he did The Shining with Steven Weber.
Okay.
And, like, I think he did Golden Years and Tommyknockers and maybe the Langoliers, too. Like, all those kind of... They made an event, like, every year or every 6 months there was another Stephen King miniseries on ABC. They were all by Garris, pretty much.
Isn't that strange? Like, they were all pretty terrible if you go back and watch them.
Oh, yeah.
But they all, like...
Even unfortunately.
They have, like, great nostalgia, like, in your head.
Mm-hmm.
You're like,
well, it's because they were built up as these events.
Right.
And it was coming into your home. It was a big Hollywood kind of thing.
Yeah.
Joe Johnston was a second unit director.
Yeah.
He went on to make The Rocketeer and Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah. And Captain America, the First Avenger.
Sure, yeah. I love that movie. Did he do October Sky as well?
Oh, I don't know.
I think he did, but I'm not going to make a bet.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. I guess I would assume he directed like anything where there was just the robots flying around, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that was like a lot of effects. That sounds like something.
Yeah, kind of like the plates with the puppeteered real objects in the background.
Yeah. That sounds like him.
You made a comment, like, I mean, just how good the effects were. It almost felt like motion control cameras, because to get the matching movement.
I'm sure it was. They had motion control by the 87, right?
I don't know.
It seemed kind of like the robots were filmed for real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like models, and then just the motion was mapped and
right. Some was like obviously stop motion animation. Some of it you could kind of see them puppeteering on a string, sort of.
Yeah. I wonder if there's behind the scenes on YouTube. Check it out.
I don't know. I don't think this ever got like a special edition on Blu-ray.
No.
I should mention the copy we watched is a little soft because it came from a standard def source like DVD streaming this thing. But even if we looked online, I bet it is not out there in 4K.
I'm guessing not.
Yeah.
It's in the Blu-ray's not coming out anytime soon.
With a special commentary by Jessica Tandy. Oh wait.
So it's a pretty basic story of people coming together to save their own. Mm-hmm. It's like the new is coming in to tear down the old.
This is like it's like trope. Goonies with old people and robots from space.
Yes.
So very 80s, yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually better than I thought it would be.
It was a very like cute kind of self-encapsulated movie. It didn't try to say anything about like the human experience beyond this context, in which that's fine.
Yeah. I was surprised by the dialogue and how seldom they never really like spoon-fed the audience like what was happening or
and even when one guy tries to find out what's going on, he's looking at one of the little robots that appears out of nowhere with a magnifying glass, and our main character Hume Cronyn, he's like, don't question the miracle. Right?
Yeah.
Like, we just have to go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the rest of the movie, they just go with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was smart. It was a movie that kind of, not that there was anything really complex going on with the characters, but it never like flat out explain like this is what's going on with this person. Right. Like you picked it up.
I did like how every character at some point kind of wondered like, did I make this happen? Did I make these creatures appear through my own needs? No, they were all wrong. They just needed some power.
Yeah.
And I guess they were the closest building at the time.
I guess
we don't know. Like the first time we see these little robots, one of them is already in the window. There's not even a nice reveal. Like the camera pans over and the robot's there.
It's like, oh, how about you push in on the window and then it kind of floats down.
Which is kind of creepy.
What?
Like if it was a horror movie and you panned over to a window and there's a guy standing there outside, that would be creepy. I kind
of liked it because it was like most movies like take the whole fucking movie to reveal. There's I thought everyone was gonna believe Jessica Tandy is just crazy for the entire movie until the final reveal, and everybody goes, "Oh my god, she's not crazy."
But they find out in about 5 minutes. But they find
immediately.
Yeah,
these things exist. I mean,
them thinking she's crazy.
Some of that with like everyone else, but really they don't. Outside of like the the guy who's trying to get them out of the house,
Carlos,
like,
yeah,
he sees them and like believes they're real, tries to convince other people. They say no, but then they kind of leave it at that. They don't really go. There's no massive reveal to the whole world. Like, these things exist. There is a miracle thing that happens. Like, their place is burnt to the ground and then rebuilt better than it was, but at the end. Right. But there's no like, oh, robots did this, you know.
And so the audience knows, in case you haven't seen it, these little robots are really good at fixing things. Like, they can take a broken picture frame and stitch all the glass back together like brand new. And they do the same thing with an entire building with like an army of their friends, of course.
Matt, you wanna take the plot for anybody who's forgotten what this movie is about?
Sure. So, there's a lone standing apartment building, or is it condos? Is it apartment building? Yeah, it's called apartment building.
Yeah, old New York.
On top of a restaurant, yeah, in New York. The rest of the entire neighborhood has been torn down to make room for
Trump Tower.
Yeah, for some new skyscrapers and stuff like that. And the tenants refuse to move. Some local thugs are hired by the construction company to kind of muscle the people out, and they refuse to move. Stuff gets broken.
Those thugs are not shy about their job. They're like, they don't care about the cops or anything. They're like physically threatening people, busting doors down. It's crazy.
It doesn't help that Jessica Tandy's character, who's one of the tenants in the building, has like Alzheimer's, pretty severe dementia.
Yeah. So then these robots from space show up. They fix the building, literally and metaphorically, I might say.
And that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. There's some ups and downs and twists in there, but
it's a very generic but well done, encapsulated classic story.
Yeah.
But with robots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That fly.
Yeah. I really like the character of Carlos. I thought he was the most interesting character.
Really? Yeah. I thought he was 99% irredeemable. He does one good thing in the movie and we're supposed to be okay with him now?
I don't know. Well, you know, I always thought it was interesting that he actually wanted like something better for himself. He talked about like, oh, I'm gonna get out of here. I got big plans. It just kind of happened that he
he didn't want to stay in the slums forever.
Yeah. Like he went over to the developer's office and he's like, oh, give me a chance.
Put on his best magenta suit.
Yeah. And I like that he freaked out when he thought the old lady was gonna die, and he's like, oh, I gotta save her. Like, oh, I thought that was kind of nice.
But that's 2 seconds after he's like, fuck it, let's burn this bitch down. And then he realizes somebody's left inside. I don't know. It's I can appreciate that they didn't let him just be some stereotypical villain.
Yeah.
That he does have his own goals, and this is the way he sees out of the
he didn't want to hurt anybody.
Right. He didn't want to hurt anybody. Except when he kicking them the fuck out of
Except when he swung a baseball bat into the curtain when he knew someone was behind it.
Yeah, there was that. And they said
Chased
that
the pregnant woman up the stairs.
They said that they beat that guy up the day before.
Right.
They were asking like, "Hey, how's the face? We're gonna do it again tomorrow."
Look, fine, Mark, he's not. He's not an ideal citizen, but he turns out to be vaguely likable by the end. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, he was an interesting character. I can concede that point.
How did this do, like, financially?
No idea. I think it did fine. Like, critically, I don't know if that's the Rotten Tomato score on the screen, but 60%, which is very average.
Yeah.
People definitely remember this movie and have a lot of nostalgia for it. Mm-hmm. But, like, as soon as Matt mentioned it, I kind of went, wait, what is that one about again? There's little hamburger-shaped alien robots,
right?
Yeah.
And that was because child me remembered the part when the baby robot was in the hamburger,
right? So I remember that too.
I kind of associated those things.
It does fall into the realm of like movies that maybe you're better off just as nostalgia.
But if it's been so, I still think it's worth watching now to refresh your memory.
Yeah, I think if you saw
it's not a bad movie at all.
I think if you saw it as a kid and you want to rewatch it, pick it up.
This is a Pixar movie now.
Right.
This would be, if this were, made nowadays, it would be Up, or it would be...
It's Pixar, sure.
Wall-E or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it was definitely better than I thought it would be. And even like, being made in the 80s, I was going to give it some leeway. But even then, it kind of held up pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Who was the person that we saw? Ralph McQuarrie designed all the robots in this movie. Famous from Star Wars. Anything else that we know him from?
Star Wars.
That's pretty much it. I don't know him from anywhere else, do you?
No, I can't think of anything. I'm sure he's done lots.
Is Christopher McQuarrie related to him, the director?
I don't think so.
Okay, never mind. Forget I just said that. But James Horner was the composer, so we were all wrong, sort of. Matt mentioned it, but he didn't really.
It wasn't my first choice, but it makes total sense.
It was part of your shotgun cluster.
Which is weird, because it doesn't sound like Horner.
Well, I did hear that famous da-na-na-na in there very briefly.
Just briefly.
Yeah, he had to squeeze it in there.
A clash of Bishop's countdown for a split second from Aliens.
What is Hume Cronyn most known for? He was great in this.
Yeah, he was in Cocoon as well.
All right.
Yeah.
But he's been in stuff since the 40s, I think, at least.
Yeah. Does he have a most famous role?
I feel like I don't know that he came to exist.
That's the IMDb app on your phone.
Yeah, right.
He's great.
Yeah, he was.
He did his own stunt. Did you see when he took that fall in the beginning?
He was he was kicking things. He was punching.
Yeah, I thought
threw that vase.
Yeah,
what
somebody fell, and it was way in the beginning. I think Carlos pushed him or something.
Oh,
and I thought for sure somebody fell and then it's gonna cut away. It's not gonna be in. No, he stood up in the shot. I was like, oh my god.
I noticed he was very spry for an old guy.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about Jessica Tandy's performance a little bit because this is, I guess, the person with dementia who's having the most fun in the world. I've never seen Alzheimer's or dementia portrayed quite like this because they don't get serious with it until the end of the movie. And I'm speaking not as a medical professional, of course, but as a person with a grandparent who had dementia. Most of their lives are like the end of the movie when they're going I'm so confused and oh god, my child is dead. Fuck, what happened? Where am I? Most days are like that, and you're lucky if you get a half hour how she is the rest of this movie and she wants to dance. And that's kind of but that kind of style of filmmaking, I know you can't characterism. That's not the point of the movie. Literally died with 9/11. And I'm not kidding. Every movies are so much more serious, and they have to be. They're almost not taken seriously anymore, unless they're gritty. Of course, we've got a million Marvel movies that are not. But it's there's kind of that post 9/11 world syndrome to movies that nowadays this would be a much more. If this were written, it would be much more. It wouldn't be as forgiving. Let's say.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think. I would chalk it up to just being we have a better understanding of Alzheimer's and stuff than we did even in the late 80s. Right. I know it doesn't seem that long ago, but... Plus they're trying to make an enjoyable family movie. Yes, that also. And they don't want to bog down the first two acts with oh God, grandma shit her pants again. Yeah.
So is that better that we've moved on from that?
I have no idea. It's just different.
Is it something that as a society of our tours... making movies and stories, have we purposely moved on from it just because we feel it's done?
Well, I don't know. I think there's room for all different kinds of storytelling. It's not like I'm offended by it. I just thought it was worth noting. Sure.
I guess there was a little bit of that in the latest Pixar film.
Is that Coco?
Coco, yeah.
Never saw it.
It's good.
It's on Netflix now. I should see it.
Yeah. You'll bawl your eyes out.
Great. I love it. It's one of my favorite
You'll feel like
pastimes.
you're in 1987 all over again. Matt, did it live up to your...
Yeah, it was better than I thought it would be, honestly. It dragged a little bit in the middle, but...
That was the fun and games portion. Yeah. When the robots have rebuilt their building a little bit on the inside.
Yeah, it's drama now.
Right. We're having fun running a diner suddenly. Yeah. And the people we were kicking out at the beginning of the movie we're now inviting in.
Well, how did they even that's what I was wondering is how did they even know the building was the restaurant's back up and running? And
Yeah, I don't know. I guess when they're
Snap
hanging
your
out
fingers and
outside.
suddenly they're all inside. Like, can we talk about what the robots are? Because at one moment we see inside and it looks like a massive city.
Well,
these
you
little
don't
tiny
even
floating things.
It had like electrons kind of zipping back and forth, but
Yeah.
it's pretty clear that the robots themselves are unique. Those are the characters. We see one get born as an entire thing, and it's stillborn, which gets remedied later. So I don't think there's like anything really living inside them. They are the life form.
Yeah.
It's sort of, what's the thing in Transformers? The cube.
The Allspark?
Sure.
It just seemed a little misleading because they show inside and it was almost as
Well,
if
it
there
had a
was
bunch
like
of moving parts, but so do we. If
someone cuts
ripped
me open,
open
they're
our-
going to see Manhattan.
in a
Is that what you're
manner of speaking, if you look at, biological systems under a microscope, it seems very organized and structured, and blood vessels are like highways.
Yeah,
Now
we've got
going to check
bacteria
your
living in
freezer
us.
for human heads.
Yeah, I think they're aliens. They're some kind of sentient species.
Yeah.
Perhaps created by another race of aliens.
Ooh.
And now they're all doing their own thing.
Let's
throughout.
get Ridley Scott on the case. They.
Is this movie like trying to say anything? Because you mentioned the whole like everyone believes like they're here for me, but is the movie kind of fighting that and saying it's like is it like an anti-faith thing that's going on because they all believe they came for them, but at the same time the movie's kind of like clearly saying no, it's just there.
At the end of the movie, I was not feeling any of that as the moral of the story. It felt more like, okay, everybody, hang on to the past and never let go.
Yeah.
Nobody gets to move on from anything ever because we're going to keep this building here for fucking ever. That's what... I don't know what they intended by it, but when these robots can fix up the old stuff to be just like new, it's sort of like, oh, well, we're not going to progress past this point in our lives, ever.
Yeah.
We can just keep it here. It's like having a baby that never ages. Which I don't...
like Bobby.
What?
Bobby she stayed young in her mind the whole time.
Yeah. I guess I don't really enjoy that as the message of the story, but you guys get anything else from that?
I don't know.
It seemed like it was going to go towards that sort of faith question for a while, but then they
just
dropped
left it just like they did, don't question what the robots are, just let it be.
Yeah.
They kind of just left it at that.
It was
which
never...
I'm fine with.
They never wondered why again.
And I think
or
maybe
even how.
Maybe that's why there is no deeper... There's nothing below the surface of this movie.
Right.
It's surface level.
I think McGarris had the fun idea, and then the writers, Brad Bird and whoever else wrote it with him, Matthew Robbins, Brett Maddock, and S.S. Wilson right in front of me, they kind of had those questions in the process, but they didn't have an answer, so they couldn't answer it with the movie. They just kind of wrapped up the story and let it be Goonies with old people.
Yeah, I wonder if there was a previous draft where it doesn't get rebuilt at the end, and they learn to move on and stuff. And then the studio was like, no, we need a happier ending.
Right, that was the bad guy winning.
See, I would have been horribly disappointed if it didn't happen because they set up the whole movie to have the building rebuilt.
Yeah.
And the guy...
it was almost like the most obvious, most perfect ending for this because...
I kept on thinking, okay, well, it's going to take a long time for just these...
Right.
These 5 robots to do it, so they...
Yeah, the one robot took like a whole night to rebuild the friend.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they could rebuild the entire building. I mean, I guess they did have like the entire race head to head.
Yeah.
Had come back.
But where'd they come from? Can they travel at light speed?
Apparently.
Oh, jeez, I don't know what's happening.
What's the deal with that? The power? Like, why do these robots need the power from this specific building? Do they ever go into that?
Right, because they do...
I don't think it was a specific building.
It was just where they happened to land. Like, the mama robot was kind of
she was
dying
pregnant,
out.
So she needed more power than the papa robot did.
And once she landed, that was just the closest one. They got lucky. And once they landed, she couldn't leave until the babies were born. And then they couldn't leave until they could fly. So then they learned how to fly, and shortly after that, they flew the coop.
Peace.
Yeah.
Peace, motherfuckers. You're on your own.
Here's a question I had during the movie. They can rebuild all this stuff and fix it up to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do they know what the original state of any of these objects was? They're aliens. They've never seen this stuff before.
Right. Well,
do objects have a memory?
I have no problem with them rebuilding.
But like the
they're
whole
fucking
building.
robots, Mark.
Okay, fine.
Don't question it.
Like they rebuild an entire diner, and I don't know. If I pictured an alien race coming in, they wouldn't know what
They'd
the
probably
hell was
come in
what.
and they'd probably like take a piece from a human being here and use it.
Yeah.
Here, just tear like nanites and just take everything.
break everything down to molecules and like rebuild stuff
from that. Yeah, I don't think that would be a horror film.
I think Michael Crichton wrote something like that about nanobots that would just like consume everything around them. Yeah. Luckily, they haven't made that into a movie yet. Because I don't think it would work out.
Having seen Cocoon not too long ago.
Now, how does this compare?
Very, very similar.
Oh.
Huh?
Although I think Cocoon I enjoyed more
Mm-hmm.
because there was more threat happening, and you didn't necessarily know in your head where the movie was going to go.
That was like the government was looking for these aliens, right? That was more AT.
It was long enough ago that I don't actually remember.
Is that Ron
However, yeah,
Yeah.
Ronnie Howard
And Gutenberg.
and Goot and the Goot. But in my mind, I think now having seen this as well, like they really do kind of feel like the same movie, kind of like just a very base level, interesting sort of sci-fi tale.
Old people come across aliens.
Exactly.
They get the fun and games of having aliens in their life.
Yeah.
And then they get a new building at the end.
And there's not too many movies like that, I feel like, from the 80s, actually. I mean, there's a lot of weird shit
with
like
old people?
this where it's like nowadays this would be a quirky indie comedy.
Probably not
Like,
a high concept
what was
80s movie.
What's the guy who got fired from Star Wars Episode 9, his first indie movie?
Trevorrow?
Trevorrow, yeah.
The time traveling one.
Yeah.
No,
Safety
Safety
Net.
Net
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. Like that kind of thing. Like, and that's kind of almost the same damn title. It feels like batteries not required. And, yeah.
Did E.T. start the 80s trend of befriending a non-human creature or robot or dinosaur or something? So there's a lot of that in the 80s.
It seems like that was 82, I believe.
Is that early?
Yeah, because it was the same year as The Thing.
That's like Close Encounters.
Which is why The Thing bombed, because everybody was going nuts over E.T.
Right.
They were like, we don't want to see a monster alien. We want to see cute aliens.
Close Encounters was before that. I mean,
Yeah.
but it was definitely Spielberg who sparked it, I would say.
Right. Wow.
The whole
Sparking an entire
genre.
decade of
right.
of movies.
Thanks Spielberg for giving us Mac and Me.
Feels like a natural sequel to this movie for some reason.
I just feel like I need to share a story about Steve Gutenberg now.
Oh, okay.
I recently talked to a person at work.
I love it when you talk about the Goots.
I talked to a person at work about the movie Titanic, and they saw it in the theater, and they thought the effects were atrocious, even for the time. And they were laughing hysterically when the boat was cracking in half, and people were like falling like rag dolls, and this guy was laughing very loudly in the middle of the theater, and this guy in front of him kept turning around and being like, shh, I'm trying to enjoy this movie. And at the end of the movie, credits come up, the lights come up, and the guy in front of this person was Steve Gutenberg.
Yeah.
He did not appreciate my friend's laughter during Titanic.
Was he holding a baby?
I don't think so. That was not mentioned.
Was it with Johnny Five in the theater?
God damn it.
Why is your friend laughing at Titanic?
Yeah.
Need more.
Who's your
input?
friend?
I'm not saying no. I'll tell you guys off mic, okay?
Great.
His name's Mike.
Who's off?
Anything else we want to cover about this movie? I made a note about how bad the artist's art was. It looked like high school level art class stuff.
Yeah.
And how much that guy wanted to help the pregnant neighbor by giving her whole wheat bread and 3 different kinds of milk. Because she was worried about her pregnancy. Whole wheat bread is going to ease her mind. Not like a fucking doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
I think he was more worried about getting laid. And going after his pregnant neighbor is a little questionable.
Yeah.
Especially when her boyfriend's clearly out of town. Like
that whole thing was very like they got very comfortable with each other very quickly. Within a couple of hours.
I was into it.
It was romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he painted her naked
Painted
before
a
they
tasteful
even went,
nude.
Before they even went on a date. While she was clothed. That's impressive.
So if you want to get with a girl, paint her naked and she'll fall in love with you.
You know what I'm surprised by this movie? There's a lack of children.
Huh.
These days, you would definitely expect some child, some girl character to be well, maybe the big mute black guy is the child because he's kind of like not all there psychologically, perhaps, or socially at least.
Well, you think about the casting; it's led by 2 old farts and a pregnant Latina. You know, you got the artist. I guess he's your one. You know,
token white guy.
Yeah, token white guy. And it's just not. It's not led by. I guess by today's standards, this would be considered a vaguely diverse movie.
Yeah, yeah. I thought it was pretty diverse for '87. Yeah.
I mean, I guess in the same sense that Cocoon was diverse for casting older actors.
It actually felt like they lived in New York.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Friends.
It was appropriately shitty, is what you're saying.
No, it's an interesting observation. No kids. Yeah, you would think immediately like, oh yeah, we got to put kids in this movie. It's a kids movie,
and they can like play with the robots, and we'll have a toy line and all this
not
stuff.
Not a single one. Not even a teenager. Interesting.
I could be totally making this up, but I seem to remember there was like Happy Meal toys or something in this movie. I thought I had a memory of playing with some little plastic version of these aliens.
It would not shock me in the least.
I mean, I
don't
still
remember that.
I would even bet that I'm making that up. That my brain is tricking me.
I'm trying to remember if I played with anything like those. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, should we wrap this one up?
No.
Any final?
We're never gonna wrap this one up, Chad.
Well, fine. I'm just gonna hit stop.
No.
What, Matt?
What?
Did you learn anything from this movie?
Did I learn anything? I was expecting to have more notes and more criticisms, but
turns out you just enjoyed it.
I mean, it was a little slow in some places, but otherwise pretty solid.
Yeah. That's a resounding review.
Pretty solid. And I think that reflects that rating we saw on TV, like, 60 to 70%.
Yeah.
Right in
if you haven't seen it since you were a kid, check it out. If you never saw it, read the Wikipedia summary.
Right. All right, you get the novelization.
I'll give the flip side to that. I'll just say, let it exist in your memory.
Okay.
That's fair.
Even if you don't remember it. Now am I telling people to forget it?
Yeah. All right, well, thanks for listening to another episode of The Hell With This.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, dude, you're going to be here next
welcome.
week, too.
Oh, sweet.
You're part of the regular cast now.
Oh, no.
It's Dragon Wagon.
Gamebox Monthly sends a new awesome indie tabletop game right to your door every month. There are multiple subscriptions to choose from, and you can personalize them to fit your style. Also, you're guaranteed to never get a title you already have, letting you focus on what matters most, having a great time with great people.
So visit GameboxMonthly.com and use the promo code DRAGON to get an exclusive discount just for the Hell With This listeners.
Once again, that's GameboxMonthly.com.
Rediscover social.